This is the Big Life. Big Life. The show for people who want to live life large. I'm Ray Waters.
Well, I am thrilled that I'm speaking to someone that I don't know well, but I love her music, and I am loving getting to know her. Her name is Plumb. Plumb, I'm delighted to be talking to you.
Thank you. Same. Absolutely.
So I hear a new song the other day from you, and it was so good and so raw and so vulnerable. And I just wanted to come on and spend a few minutes and say, what inspired you to write it? How did you get to that?
Thank you. Well, it's called Free, and I got there by growing up evangelical. I was raised Nazarene. My grandfather was a Nazarene minister, very hellfire and brimstone, had really no language to give what I'm about to say that I've now been able to put words to, which has been so helpful. But I grew up in a very patriarchal, I dare say misogynistic culture. There were a lot of men specifically in my life that were not emotionally safe, that I kind of always felt like I had to kind of walk a line, a lot of fear, and so much judgment. And I mean, I go back so conservative that like I couldn't go to movie theaters. Like there's no alcohol in our home. We do not curse. There's no cussing. There's no tattoos. There's no piercings. There's judgment about everyone that does any of that too.
Right.
And so the LGBTQIA plus community, like that was a given that they were burning in hell and just all of that. And with that, I did not realize that I did not think for myself. And no intended disrespect to my father, who is still living, and I love him. But he was raised a particular kind of way by my grandparents.
Right.
And so, so that kind of transferred into our home, where how he voted, who he cheered for, what he cared about, that's what we believed. And so then I reassigned that to the person I married. And while he looked different and acted a little different, there was still the role was there. And I went through a really, really traumatic, and not that divorce is ever easy, but I went through an especially traumatic divorce about almost 5.5 years ago now, and had to think for myself and not as someone's daughter, as someone's wife. And as I started to really re-engage with who I was before I was married to this person and after I left home, as a teenager, a friend of mine sent me a video of me at the piano, early, maybe 20, 21, maybe years old. And there was this adorable girl in the video, and it was me, and I loved her. And
wow.
And I was like, you know what? She was out of the house and she wasn't married yet, and she was finding her voice, and she completely just handed over all of her power into her marriage. And shortly after I was married, and I'd already become Plumb, but then I re-signed with a label. He took over the managerial side and the financial side and the every other nook and cranny side, except for I wrote music, I sang it, I performed it, and I gave birth to babies. Like outside, kind of everything else was controlled by him. And so after having to kind of collect all of that, and it was so overwhelming and daunting, I started to really see myself independent from all of that. And as I looked at that video of that girl from 20, 30 years ago, I was like, I want to advocate for her.
Right.
I want to fight for her so that I can better advocate for others. And as I did that, COVID happened. Our political climate changed like real drastic. This is 2020.
Right.
And little by little, I was like, you know what? I have felt censored. I've had a thumb on me. I've been afraid. I'm not afraid anymore. And there's no thumb on me, and there's no censorship. And I want to be the advocate that I believe I was created to be. And I think I had to really learn how to fight for this so that I could go fight for others in the margins. And so Free was me, basically my own anthem of saying, I am not one of you. And when I say one of you, it is in the evangelical American specifically, because that's what I know most intimately. I was raised that they are wrong and we are right. And I don't believe that way anymore. Like, I, first of all, believe love is the answer to all of it.
Right.
But on a deeper level, just spending so much time judging. And it's like, wait a minute, if I've grown and changed, was I wrong then? Was I right then? Am I wrong now? What? There's this evolution happening. I think it's healthy that it's happening all the time, that we're growing and we're learning and we're growing and we're learning. And so to judge anybody or to have some like really staunch opinion about something, that you could change your mind tomorrow. And so I think my favorite phrase right now is that I reserve the right to change my mind. But right now, this is what I believe. And so I felt like, you know what, this is not a song giving, middle fingers to the church that I grew up in, but it's more of a declaration of saying, I love Jesus. I do not identify with people who are calling themselves Christian and living in a way that I don't believe is how Christ would be in the world and is in the world. And that's my decision. Like, I'm allowed to decide that. I'm allowed to believe that way. And so I believe very differently. And so that's kind of what fueled all of that, of just having that removed from me. And there was not like, I am now the head of my home. And so go ahead.
I love how freeing it sounds, but is it a little bit terrifying to put out things like this song that maybe fans of yours 20 years ago that maybe you're still in?
Right.
I'm sure many of them are going to be growing and experiencing things newly, but is there a little terrifying side to it or no?
You know what I'll say? Years ago, when I felt very censored, like I can think back to interviews where I was really like, authenticity has always mattered to me. I'm a 4 on the Enneagram. So it's like, I have to be true to myself. And there was a period of time, I'm not entirely sure I knew exactly who that was in the first place to even advocate for, but you're sort of kind of owned by everyone else. Like, they're investing in you and record labels and things like that. And so whether it's your parent or your spouse or your record company or fans, I felt like I had to sort of answer to all of them. And in a respectful way, it's like, man, if they're trusting me, or if they're paying me to come do a concert, or if they're investing in this record, like, I do want to be mindful of their time and their resources and even their trust in me. But that's such a great question, Ray. And I think that I was so afraid of God not loving me anymore, even though I was raised with like, Jesus always loves you. I had tremendous fear of abandonment emotionally from a lot of the people in my life, and more specifically, males. Like my father and my brother both have been emotionally unsafe for me, as much as I still love them. And then certain record label executives and, the man and certain managers, just certain, and then my own spouse. It was like, and I think after being so afraid of disappointing or being so afraid of doing the wrong thing, I think in the season that I've been in, I have realized how like recklessly loved I am all the time. I am so deeply loved. There's nothing that I can do to lose that. I think that has helped me to love me and to kind of, not to sound like a brat, but like, I don't care if someone else doesn't love me anymore.
Right.
I care that I love me. And so because I'm so certain that I am loved by God and I do really love me, I feel uncensored and I feel more free. And so I've already had tremendous amounts of people like walk away in droves. Like I went to
But you
a
weren't a
pride.
people pleaser. You weren't a people pleaser, right? That's never been a huge part. I had the people pleaser side of me. So when people started falling aside and leaving me, it's like, everybody likes me. Everybody's supposed to like me. I don't know why people don't like me now, but it doesn't seem like
Right.
you had that. It seemed like that wasn't your thing. And so,
I mean, there's a part of that. I think part of the human condition, there's a little bit of that, but you're right. I have not cared as much what other people think. And I would say this, and I didn't have the language for it until probably 4 years ago. I was in a therapy session with my counselor, and we were talking about peace. I was saying how much peace I didn't have in the
Right.
in the midst of my divorce. There was, custody and money and belongings and all, just lots of like, what am I going to end up with? What's going to be taken from me? And she said something about, when something violates your conscience and it robs you of peace, like how disarming that is. And she said, so as long as you are telling the truth and as long as you are being true to yourself, like you can still have peace no matter what gets taken from you, no matter what happens to you. And I remember coming back to our next session and asking her, like, I almost want to co-write a catchphrase with you about that. And she was like, okay, I'm listening. And I said, well, when you were talking, it's like, do the right thing, like to the best of your knowledge, like your ability, do the right thing. Because a clear conscience is what gives you peace.
Mm-hmm.
And that's worth more than anything. And so I
Right.
ended up writing it down, putting it on my fridge, and it being like, just do the right thing, keep a clear conscience, don't let something rob you of your peace. And that doesn't mean I'm always going to do the right thing. But if I can look back and go, you know what, I was doing the best I knew to do. I was showing up in the best way that I knew how. And I can look back and say, even stuff, I can watch old interviews and be like, oh gosh, what was I thinking? But you know what?
That's where you
I
were.
was doing,
Yeah.
that's where I was.
Yeah.
And I was, and so I'm showing up in the best way that I know how now. And I have a confidence that I didn't have before. And I think that I had to fight to get there. But now I feel like I'm so confident in that when I need to stand up for my brothers and my sisters, like those arrows that are flying, like I'll take some of them. I'll take
Right.
as many as possible, like bring them to me. And I just, I think I don't want to say like I had to, but I went through something that has now made me, like as an empath, even more empathetic. And I don't think that I had experienced, and still, I will not compare myself to, everyone in there's certain degrees of the margin, right? That it's like someone is, they experience harm because of this, but then there's the immigrant that, is experiencing a different kind of harm for, a lot longer or in a different way. So I don't pretend to have experience in every avenue of that, but I will say sitting in a courtroom for 6 days in a row and having the person you trusted the most showing up with their number one agenda to rip away your character and to take your children and your belongings from you as much as they possibly can. I sat there and was like, I feel really alone and I feel really scared. And if people that live this way every single, I dare say, effing day of their life, like
Right.
they live this way all the time, like, oh God, help me to be a voice for them, because I have had a social capital and like a community around me to hold my hands up when I couldn't anymore. For the people that don't, I would like to be their hands. And so to me, I feel like I had to say, hey, I'm free. I'm not one of those people over there
Right.
that are throwing rocks at you. I'm one of you, and I love you.
I love the line that you wrote. I want to make a difference, not a point. Was that the line? Was that kind of the way it went?
Yes.
Yeah. I thought I thought it's like, how many times in my past life did I want to make a point, and I want to make a difference now. I thought that was brilliant.
Yeah, thank you. I just, that comes from, and only because I don't think he'll ever see this is why I'm saying this, that my father, he's 80, and I, again, love him, but he makes a lot of points, and it can be really, really hurtful, and
Right.
there's not a real difference made. So it's like, he's got it off his chest. He's said what he needed to say, but at the cost of what? And
Yeah.
I'm his daughter, and I'm sure I'm certain I have done the same as you have said, and not anymore. Like, I don't want to do that. So
You said, I'm finally free from hate disguised as truth. Was that,
yeah,
is that the line? I love that too. I'm finally free from hate disguised, because it is hate. We don't know it maybe when we're saying it, but it is hateful.
it is. It is. And it's like, even if there is some factual element, or even if there's, well, like, good intention behind something, it is presented, in my upbringing and in my experience, it is presented so much as absolute truth. And then if you don't agree with or participate in that same space, you are wrong, or
Right.
you're bad, or you're sinful. And it's like, how motivating is that for someone to say, and I have a lot of friends in that space still, that that I think has been really important, so that I can still practice kindness. Like, you don't have to agree with
Right.
me.
Right. Right.
Like, let's just be kind. And so when somebody doesn't want to err on the side of kindness, and we start to butt heads, I'm usually the first one to go, you know what? Let's just grace and peace here. Like, I don't need to be right anymore. This is just how I live. But being in that space for so long, and wanting to not be, and then not be. So it's like, I was, then I don't want to be, then now I'm not. So there was almost, I kind of joke about my fourness on the Enneagram of, like, we have a fear of being misunderstood. And so I tend to, for that reason alone, or other traumas, that I will kind of over explain sometimes. And I'm like, this is also a chance to go, just to make it clear.
Right.
I'm not
Right.
that way. And that way it kind of like clears some of the cobwebs of people that, are maybe not entirely sure. And so it's like, okay, if you don't want to follow, if you don't want to buy the music, if you don't want to come to the show, that's completely fine. And so, back to your comment about it being scary to lose fans or followers or sales or things like that. I have just learned the value, like the real value, in peace and authenticity. Like, you cannot put a price on it. And so I'm really okay with people saying,
Yeah.
see ya.
Yeah.
And that's okay. That's okay.
The song to me has been haunting. I love you. I'm terribly sorry for the harm I caused. Something like that, I think you sing.
Mhm.
And it's like, there's so many, I think, people that are moving into that new space that are saying, you know what? I'm seeing it differently now. I'm not throwing it all out. But I'm seeing some of the things that I was so sure about, and now I realize that's not love. And your song said it better than anything that I've seen. And so I just wanted to, I know I don't know you, but from the moment I met you, I thought, we're going to be friends one day.
Yes.
And so
yes.
I'm glad that you allowed me to spend these few minutes with you. And I want everybody to download this song. And I want you to tell us how we keep up with you. How do we do that? What are you doing? Where can we see you?
So I am, Plumb is my artist name, Plumb. Plumb Music is where all my socials, Facebook and Instagram and all of that, it's Plumb Music. If you're looking for me, and you can stream me or download any and every platform where you get your music. And in that space of COVID and divorce and all of that, like, the shows went away, but it was almost a chance for me to, at the time, being really concerned about the monetary side of the touring element. And so I've had to get really creative and monetize in different ways, but it did give me a chance to regroup. And instead of playing concerts and going, I'm not sure I want to say this again, but
Right.
There's certain songs that I may or may not do anymore. And there's certain songs that I would introduce differently and that mean something different to me. So I've had kind of a chance to hunker down and kind of not reinvent myself, but just really heal and grow and kind of prepare. And so I have a goal right now of releasing something new every 4 to 6 weeks, like 4, maybe 6 at the most, but somewhere between 4 or 5 weeks, of just sending out music, and I'm a huge fan of film and TV. I've had a lot of just wonderful opportunity to have songs in film and TV. So when I was watching the Olympics, I had heard that I had a song in a commercial, but I wasn't sure because you never really know. There was a commercial that had like a song that I had co-written in it, and so that's
great. That's great.
It's super exciting to do that because it kind of just exposes you to a completely different demographic, people that would be like, who is this? And they're like, who is this person? But touring is my only goal anymore. Like when you first start out, it's like, make the record tour. And now I'm just writing and creating. And I think in an independent space with, the tools that I have now after I'm 50 years old. So it's like 30 years later, I actually have some tools to just upload a song and I don't have to ask anybody, like, do you like this? When can it come out? There's a song coming out just in a few weeks. I think April 25th is when it's coming out. It's called Brave. And it's another kind of certainly inspired from my space of going through the trauma that I felt like I had to kind of hide. And then once I experienced what I just described to you of just feeling so brave and wanting to empower my friends out there that don't feel so brave. And my friend Flamey Grant was part of the inspiration because she had shared her story with me and just being in proximity with this drag queen and just hearing. And I remember telling her, I was like, I have never met a drag queen. I've certainly never been friends with one. And you're the first. And thank you so much for sharing your story with me. And you're just such a perfect example of when you don't understand something and you pull it closer. And whether you still understand it or not, and keep pulling it closer, choosing kindness for whether I understand or not. And then I didn't even have to choose kindness. It was like, oh, this is amazing. I love your story and I love your vulnerability. And so when I was songwriting, like quite literally the next week, I ended up texting Flamey and saying, I was talking about myself, but the lyric says, wish you could see what I see when I look at you. You're everything. You're a queen. You're a dream come true. All the hate, all the pain that they've put you through only made you the brave that I see in you. And the word queen, just literally, I had Flamey in my head.
Wow.
And I was like, so you have made it into the song. And I said, but it was like all the things that I went through have kind of that fire has refined me into this. And I love this. Right. I love who this is. And so I was like, maybe sometime we'll be at the same place and you can sing it with me. And so Flamey was like, I'm there. Like, let's do it. So
let's do it. I would love that. Maybe it'll be in Atlanta. I hope so.
Yeah, that would be amazing.
I hope so. You are wonderful. Everybody, listen to the song Free. Come visit with us. We can't wait to see you. If you don't make it to Atlanta, I'm going to come see you in Nashville. I want to become good friends. All right. Thank you, Plumb.
Thank you, Ray.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.